We've all seen early game wheat farms, kind of like this one. Your wheat grows up, you have a little something that lets water out, and once you let the water out, all the water flows down and it's harvested. And that's great. Yeah, we got a little bit of seed off there on the side, but you know, you've got everything's picked up, goes into this chest eventually. So much this hopper can't even keep up with it, but it'll get there eventually. The problem is now you have a field that it has to be replanted. Who's going to do that? Now, it seems like it has to be you. And that's boring. Who's really got time for all that? But we found we can make villagers do it. The challenge with villagers planting things is, as we'll see over here, they pick up all the seeds and the wheat and take them for themselves. So we need a way to get the wheat from the villager and have him keep planting. So the common type of way to do this is to fill up the villager so he only has seeds in his inventory and can't pick up the wheat. That's a little bit of a pain. It means the wheat ends up dropped on the floor. You have to have something that picks up, like a minecart hopper, to pick up the wheat. So I'm going to go over my way that I found to do it. It's not the most efficient way, but I think it's a little bit fun and takes advantage of a few of the mechanisms that villagers have. So let's take a look at the farmer and how he spends his day. He wakes up in the morning and kind of checks things out, seeing what's around. Might go check out the bell, but then the workday starts, and then pretty much during the workday he hangs around that workstation. He would go find some farmland nearby. If it's got some wheat on it, he might harvest it. If he finds some open farmland and he has seeds, he'll go plant them. And he might compost a little bit in that composter. So that's how he spends his work day. Like any good farmer, he works and works and works, and just tends to his field, but he never gets too far away, only about 4 or 5 blocks away from that composter during the work time. And he keeps coming back to it. Then, once the day is over, he'll go check out the bell, see what's going on there, wander around a little bit, and then it's off to bed and ready for another day. Yep, he'll get there soon. There we go. So how can we use this to our advantage? We know we want the farmer to plant some seeds, and that's pretty much all we want him to do. We don't want him to really harvest as much as possible, and we don't really want him to compost the seeds, because if he's composting the seeds, he can't be planting them. We also know that he will like to go to the bell at certain times of the day. He will go to the bed at night, and during the work hours, he stays close to that composter. So we'll see if we can come up with a system that takes advantage of those things to get us some wheat. So here is my first attempt at a system that will allow us to do this. Here we have a 9 by 8 field with a composter in the middle of it. And in there is a farmer villager. He can't quite reach that composter because I found out that if he is allowed to reach the composter, he'll compost the seeds and not plant them. You can see it, he can't quite reach it. He can at least plant the area adjacent to the composter. So this farmer, during the day, he's working. He'll go and plant the seeds. And then over on the side here, we have a little bed chamber for him. What happens is we get a bell that attracts the villager in here. We also have his bed. And we've observed the bed, which is attached to the sticky piston. So when a villager sleeps in that bed, the observer says, hey, someone's sleeping in the bed. It triggers this piston, which then triggers this redstone block, and that allows us to say during the daytime the redstone block is in this position, at nighttime the redstone block is in this position, because he also triggers it when he gets out of bed. So when it goes to night, a few things happen. The first is we want to count it. We want to have a cycle of either 4 or 5 nights, depending on how we want to set it up. So here we have a resetting counter unit. In this one, we have droppers. Right now, we've got 3 axes in this dropper, and right now, and 1 axis in this hopper. So each time we get a nighttime, the redstone block moves over, so triggers this dropper, which puts another axe into this hopper. We can read that output over there and tell us how many nights we've been going. So three levels here is 1 night. It'll go another 3 levels on the second night, another 3 levels on the third night, and on to the fourth. This little unit on the side is a resetting mechanism that just keeps track of this little iron nugget. So whenever there's items in here, this is locked and that resetting doesn't happen. But as soon as we empty out all of the axes in this particular dropper, this one unlocks and that nugget is sent back over to the other side. That is sending things over to this torch, which currently locks this hopper. So that unlocks it, allowing everything to drain back into the other side, and the whole system resets. The other thing we do at nighttime is we trigger this line, which is just used for some seed returning. And we'll get to that in a little bit. Once the villager is doing his thing, he kind of wanders around here, plants this, and then we will just kind of trick him into thinking it's nighttime and see what happens on the second night. So it becomes nighttime. The villager says, I'm sleepy. Gets right into bed. We get the redstone trigger here. We've added another count to our day counter. And move the redstone block here. We also have this line over here, which is our door control. So after we get to the second night, this triggers this particular mechanism, which either raises or lowers this cauldron, and that closes the trap door, thus trapping our villager in his little cell for a few days. Because we don't want him harvesting the wheat. We want to let that wheat grow. So now that we've got some fully grown wheat here, we can see what happens when we get to the final day. We'll kind of come up here and so the farmer then goes back to bed, and that triggers the fourth night thing, which sends a pulse that clears out the farm with this water, removes the water, and all the seeds and the wheat get flushed down into this little sorting system, storage system here. And the first thing we do is we have a little tiny filter here to find all the wheat, or the seeds. This finds all the seeds, pulls them out and puts them in this dropper. And that dropper is set up as an auto dropper, so anytime there's things in this circuit will want to pulse them out one at a time. But we've set this up to be locked at night. This line comes here, locks this auto dropper, so it doesn't drop the seeds while the farmer is asleep, so we don't want him to despawn. The rest of the output from the farm is the wheat, and that goes into here. This farm's been running just a little bit. And we found this, collected about 30 to 40 wheat per harvesting. And so I wanted to see if I could improve that. So over here is a slightly improved system that seems like it addressed a few issues. First of all, obviously we've got some bees in here. The bees are optional. They will come and pollinate from the flower and azalea leaves over here, and then pollinate some leaves over here. We can also see that this field was just harvested, and now the dropper is returning the wheat seeds to where the villager can pick them up. This villager already has quite a few wheat seeds, but yeah, he'll pick those up as he needs them. And but one of the issues we found was farmers at nighttime were often getting stuck on these trap doors if they were trying to go straight over to their bed over here. So his bed chamber has been moved over a little bit, and we also made sure that there's always a bell here that also attracts them here during their meeting time. The other thing we've changed here is this one is set up for a 5-day cycle, which is the most this particular counter can do um, with these single items. So it will trigger on the 5th sleep to harvest the crops. That just gives it a little bit more time for the crops to grow, gives it a little more making sure all of the crops, as many as possible, of the crops have gotten to full maturity before we try to harvest them. Here we can see the bees going back. One issue with the bees is they invariably seem to want to come into this chamber, and sometimes they can collide with the farmer and they can get stuck in this doorway. I tried to keep the bees out of the chamber, but the best solution seemed to be just to give them a little bee door off to the side here and in the yellow glass so that they can come in, go out as they please, have a way around the farmer where he can't get out but the bees can. These beehives, we could eventually put on some sort of harvesting mechanism to get honey bottles, wax from them as well, just as a little side benefit from the farm. Otherwise, the bees will pollinate the crops a little bit, cause them to grow with their little sort of bone meal mechanic. It doesn't add a lot, but it helps a little bit. We also added these fences here so that the bees don't go down into the water, or the bees don't come up into this little hole up here. That's pretty much what those are for. But this one seemed to put out about approximately a stack of wheat per cycle, which for a little farm with one farmer isn't too bad. Since villagers will sleep before players do, that'll make sure that they sleep. They get in the bed and it's detected each night, even if you are sleeping the night away or on a server that sleeps the night away. This particular 5-villager farm, all on one level. Now, since farmers will tend to stay close to our composters, we've spread composters out, one in this corner, a couple along the side here. There's one along the side. There's one along the middle, kind of past that little hydration break. Another one on the side, and then one way over on this end. So each farmer has their preferred composter. And the challenge here was I wanted to make sure that all the farmers are in the bed chambers for sleeping at night. So the way that was accomplished is that we've got the little chamber with 5 beds in it. Each bed is being observed. And then this little circuit down here is basically an AND circuit for these 5 inputs. So when these 5 villagers are in the bed, as each one goes in, that will turn off the corresponding torch. And when they are all off, this torch will turn on, which is observed, and that tells us when we are in nighttime. And then similarly during the day, when one of them gets up, which is daytime, and they all get up, it will turn back off. We'll get to daytime. So it also has the bees, and we got 2 hives right now at each end, with the azalea leaves in the middle. So there's some in here, and some over there, signified by the yellow blocks, and then some over here. So then bees will try to go about 22 blocks to find flowers from their hives. This farm is the length of 29 blocks, is based on this redstone line, how far it will reach each way from the middle. So we put the bees at the end, the azalea leaves in the middle, and they won't usually reach the full length of the farm, but they can. So this way, at least they will reach. Again, the bees will try to go in this chamber, so they get a nice little bee hole to go through right there. The other thing is these farmers will, as there are 5 of them, occasionally summon an iron golem. So we've trapped an iron golem here with this bell. You can't get past that bell. And that way, when the farmers are gathered together at the meeting time, and if they say, hey, we think we need a iron golem, which they do sometimes, they will look and say, hey, there's an iron golem right here. We don't need another one. Now we do occasionally get a farmer stuck here on these trapdoors. They may get stuck on these trapdoors as well. Usually he'll sort himself out. He'll get interested, he'll wonder a little bit, and at bedtime he will be attracted to his bed. But we want to make sure that he finds his way there before we close the gate. As if we look, this field has had, this was its second day of planting. They've slept one night, they've set up the field, and it's mostly full. So we'll watch this villager see. Oh, he's moved away a little bit. Looked at another bit of farmland. Run into the bees a little bit. For some reason, they'll run into each other, but now it's getting to night. So he'll find his way eventually over to the bell or to his bed. But at nighttime, we'll see they'll hop in their bed as they do. They ponder gets to nighttime and he gets out again. How annoying. He must have hit a bee. So he's in his bed, and that has triggered our trap door over here, which will trap them in their chamber for the next few days and let the wheat grow. They get a nice break. They get to hang out together, say hi to the golem, say hi to the bees. The bees can hop on out, go back to their hives, and this will continue to go for the next couple days. And this one seems to get about 3 stacks of wheat for every like a 5-day harvest, and about 9 stacks of seeds, which then are sent back into this chamber for the farmers to pick up. The way I like to do auto wheat harvesting, just it avoids the minecarts running constantly all the time. You just still get a little bit of side effect with bees, lots of villagers kind of running around, which adds some life to the farm, and gets a decent amount of wheat. It's not the most wheat. If you want the efficient farms out there, you can find those, but this is just something a little bit different for trying it out.